Hello, hello. I hope that you are doing well and taking good care of yourself. My name is Nompumelelo Prudence Gubega. I'm a clinical psychologist and also a traditional healer. I am based in Joburg South in South Africa. Welcome to Black Couch Podcast. Happy Monday and welcome to Black Couch Podcast. So today's topic is dealing with a toxic boss. Have you ever felt that it was very difficult to go to work? That every time that you have to wake up, you end up feeling very anxious about going to work and even thinking about this specific person that doesn't get satisfied with your work? Have you ever had so much anxiety on a Sunday because you know that Monday you are going in and there is so much criticism that you will get from a specific boss or manager? Have you ever felt that you can't sleep because you spend so much of your time thinking about an email that you just sent to your boss that you know that it will come back and it's not enough, or maybe a project that had a deadline and you needed to submit it, and you know that even when it comes back, it will come back not good enough? Have you ever felt that when you get to work, you are being treated as if you were a child and you never ever get to have a word in that space? Um, have you ever felt also guilty about just taking sick leave or even annual leave that you are entitled to because you know that this person will make an issue out of, or also make you feel like you were not supposed to take that time off? You know, have you ever felt so overworked that there isn't space for family, there isn't space for friends, there isn't space even for you? There's no space to just breathe because you keep getting work after work after work after work. Have you ever felt that even the work that you get is not the work that you are trained for, or the work, it's not part of your work description, but it's work that's being given to you to do as a way of sabotaging you, because they know that you are not trained in that work, or that you are so overworked that there isn't even time to breathe? You know, even mentioning all of these points, I get a sense of anxiety, because it almost feels like it makes it so difficult to breathe. It makes it so difficult to enjoy your work. It makes it so difficult to even have compassion for it, because now it is so much and it feels like survival. How to spot a toxic boss. I think people that have had toxic bosses are able to spot them, but one of the things that would usually come in is the micromanaging. Even though they know that you know your work, it almost feels like they need to manage your every move, your every email, your every typing of a sentence or a project. Sometimes you find that there are employees that are liked more than the others, and sometimes you find also that there is constant criticism, sometimes being shouted or embarrassed in front of other people or other employees at work. Sometimes you find that you do the work and someone else takes the boss or the manager takes the credit for your work without even referencing you in that work. you find that sometimes people come from homes that they are okay, they have healthy homes and all of that, but now they get to work and they are bullied. They are bullied. Sometimes you find that with narcissistic bosses, they make so much of the work about them. I often say that when it comes to these things, it's not really because of an employee. Sometimes there are some things, but sometimes it's also the inadequacy or insecurity that a boss has that makes them treat other people the way that they treat them. It's more about internal stuff more than it is about the work that the employee is doing at that point. It makes it very difficult to cope in those kind of environments, and you find that people end up feeling so depressed. Some end up in substances. There's others that would end up passive quitting, where they go to work and they just there because I need to pay the bills, but my mind is not there. And then you find that there's others that would not even go. There's others that would even resign without a plan. I've seen this a lot on social media, on other people that would say, I left my job because of my mental health. I don't have a plan, but my life is more important. And I think another thing is realizing that people that have toxic bosses have a higher chance of having very serious illnesses like your hypertension, anxiety, depression, or sometimes stroke, because of all these emotions that they are feeling. There's people that sometimes would even get to a point of not knowing themselves when it comes to work. They would have stress, burn out. They would always feel anxious. And you find that even though they would have healthy homes, now because they have had this toxic boss, it's so easy for them to bring their toxic boss home. And I always say to patients that it almost feels like there's a ghost in your house that you are bringing in from work and ends up contaminating this safe environment that you have formed, because there's so much that is happening at work that is toxic, that sometimes makes a person become more shouty to kids, or more stressed out when they get home, more depressed, that they don't want to spend time with family and all of that, and mentally giving power to this boss. I guess we've spoken about the toxic boss, but okay, how do we cope when it comes to these kinds of environments? I think the most important thing is being able to set boundaries. Most of the patients that I have seen that have toxic bosses also don't have the necessary boundaries, because of the constant gaslighting, the manipulation, the criticism, and all of that. They sometimes doubt so much of themselves that it becomes sometimes difficult to set the necessary boundaries. And that is very important, to be able to say, actually, this is not in my job description, so I will not be doing 1, 2, 3. This is my job description. I think with toxic bosses, it's very important to always go back to your job description so that you stick to it, and you don't have to be doing any extra work that you are not compensated for. And then another thing is, sometimes you get to work, maybe it's a new job, and then you don't set boundaries. You are a yes person, and that's how you're taken advantage of. But it doesn't change that at a later stage you can still be able to set the necessary boundaries that you need to be setting. I always say that it is very, very important that after work you detox work. You have your own routine or ritual that you detox work with. Like, for example, coming back home, taking a shower, or just making sure that you are not bringing the same energy that you had at work, or just even after leaving work, realizing that I'm leaving this environment here so that it doesn't affect the safe environment that I have at home. Going for therapy. Journaling is also very important, because you find that sometimes there is a clutter of thoughts that are not processed, that makes it so difficult for you to even set the necessary boundaries. So when you write your thoughts down, it makes it easy for you to sit with those feelings and be able to process them. Another thing is, take the leave that you need to take. There might be a fight, but people get used to that. And another important thing is realizing that some of the bosses are able to push you because you don't have the boundaries that you need to have. Remember that the main thing of having a toxic boss and for them is more about control. It's more about them taking your power away from you, and how you can get that power back is by setting the necessary boundaries that you need to set with them, like the boundaries about the job description, the boundaries about the time that you need to knock off, the boundaries about the times that you are entitled to, whether it's annual leave and all of that. Some bosses, the reason that they end up being toxic is because there's other avenues in their lives that they don't have control over. Now they project that to you, and you catch on to the projection by always saying yes to things that you should be saying no to, and also how you are being treated. Also use HR as your avenue to be able to get the help that is necessary. There's people that are also in unions. Use them. You guys pay for them, so use them as a way of getting the help that you need. Also use family for support. Also try as much as you can to take care of yourself away from work, and being able to detach from work by knowing that that place, as much as you spend so much of your time there, is a place that you go there to work and make money, and then you come back home and create a happy and safe environment for you and your family, the safety of your emotions and physical health. Because if ever there isn't any of those helping mechanisms or coping mechanisms that you can use, it's so easy for you to end up depressed. It's so easy for you to end up constantly anxious. It's also easy for you to have a lot of anxiety. Sometimes work can feel like high school bullying, but also the important thing is to be able to understand that as an adult, it's extremely important for you to start protecting yourself, more especially from people that didn't do the work of working on themselves, and they feed from taking other people's energies, and they feed also from chaos that they create. There's people that actually feed from making other people miserable, and that makes them happy. As much as we don't think that they exist in the world, they do. And the earlier you catch on to that, the earlier you can start making the necessary changes to also protect your mental health from it. I hope that you take the time to take care of yourself through the bullying. I hope you are able to go for therapy if you are able to. I hope you're able to stick to your job description so that no extra work is added. I hope that you are able to take care of yourself through it, and get the necessary help that you need. I hope you set the necessary boundaries, because that's very, very important when it comes to your mental health, and sometimes we go into a space of wanting to show the boss on what they are doing to us. I will talk to her so that I show her or him what he's doing to me. But sometimes, and most of the time, adults know what they are doing. So the main important thing is to do the work internally. and then be able to set the necessary boundaries. So write about them, go to HR if you have to, but make sure that in the process you are taking good care of yourself. And love and light.